It's time for another edition of Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Also heard on the radio in Las Vegas on 101.5 KDAWN and the booming AM juggernaut of 840 KXNT. Welcome to the Las Vegas audience. Welcome to all of you. We're here to talk about Raiders football. Do us a favor, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. Don't forget to rate and review. Same with the video. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and the notifications bell. I am your host, Scott Branson. Joining me is my partner in crime. That is Mr. Moe Moton, senior NFL writer at Bleacher Report, Raiders columnist at sportsnaut.com, and an all-around good guy. You can follow him on x.com at Moe Moton, Moemoton. I am at LV Gully, the show, SNB today. Getting ready for a big weekend for the Raiders. Actually, beginning of the week, Raiders don't play till Monday night. But we're going to talk through that. First segment, we'll get to some Raiders news and updates. Second segment, my good friend, longtime friend, Scott Kaplan from ESPN Los Angeles is going to join us to break down the Chargers and what's going on with them. And he's got that long history with the Chargers going back to San Diego days. So we'll get the lowdown from him on Monday night's game and that state of that franchise, what's going on down there. Then in the third segment, we're going to tie it all up, talk a little bit about the game coming up on Monday night. Also, we will get you up to date on the Silver and Black Today Fantasy League. If you don't care about that, I don't care. We're talking about it. Our fans love to hear how Mo and I and the rest of the crew do in fantasy football. We're talking a little bit about that. Also, a reminder, the show brought to you on video by our good friends at Sleeper Picks, which we will get to some Sleeper Picks for Sunday in between segments 1 and 2. All right, Mo, the Raiders getting set. They've had the longer week, so they're just back at practice now. A lot of people on our show on Tuesday was in the live chat during the video up on YouTube. And a lot of people asking and inquiring both about Eldon Roberts, about, of course, Brock Bowers and their injuries. We don't have any injury reports until today on Thursday. So, and as the time of recording, we don't have those as well. But it sounds like with Brock Bowers, day to day, more of a contusion, deep bruise, something like that. This is the type of thing you see all the time in the NFL. I'm not overly concerned about it. It's a big game on Monday night. I think he'll play. Eldon Roberts, not so sure. But with the longer week, we're going to have to wait for updates.
Yeah, with Landon Roberts, I think he'll miss. I think it sounds like not miss an extended period of time. He has a sprained elbow. Tough guy though. I
Oh,
could
yeah.
be wrong. He may sign up. He may suit up. But with Brock Bowers, that's the one that everyone keeps asking about. Brock Bowers told Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network that he was fine. Pete Carroll didn't want to, I guess, count his chickens before they hatch, and he said the next 3 days would be crucial. He said this on Monday, so expect to hear more. Have the best idea by Friday, I would say, because then you get to see if players. Sometimes players, a lot of times, will sit out the first practice of the week, and then as the week goes on, they'll ramp up their practice habits. So we'll see with Brock Bowers. You want him at 100%. He's probably not going to be 100%, but as long as he's on the field. 75% of Brock Bowers is better than no Brock Bowers against the Chargers on Monday.
Absolutely. And then you have a guy named Michael Mayer there who had a nice game against the Patriots, who's there should they need to rely more on him. So it's a drop off, yes, because Brock Bowers is such a different animal, but it's nice that you have depth there. We talk about depth on this show all the time, and there you go. I think that's one of the issues. Also, from the linebacking perspective with Roberts, Mo, we saw Tommy Eichenberg come out and have a nice game in relief of the injured Roberts. And in some ways, when you see a young player perform well in week one or a week, it's almost like it's not a bad thing if he has to do it again because he can gain that confidence. Now, a lot can change in 1 week, but I almost if it's touch and go with Eldon Roberts, I rather see him take a week off, even though it's a massive game for this team. Let Eichenberg go in there because he's already shown that he can do it one time. See if he can repeat it and get some more snaps.
Sure wasn't Liam Eichenberg and not Tommy. No, I'm just kidding. But if Tommy Eichenberg has to come in, I would expect his role to be minimal anyway.
Right.
Devin White, I wrote about this on my Raiders Daily for Wednesday, had an incredible game. I think more needs to be said about what he did with his 11 tackles, one for loss against the New England Patriots. So Devin White and Jermaine Pratt are probably going to be your lead linebackers. And then you'll have Jamal Adams in and out along with Tommy Eichenberg in the
Ah,
middle of that defense. So, yes, we want to see Tommy continue to develop. But as long as Devin White is playing downhill the way he was against the Patriots, Jermaine Pratt doing his thing, and Jamal Adams also filling in very well as a transitional linebacker, Raiders second unit should be fine against the Chargers. Though I will say, keep an eye on Will Disley and Tyler Conklin. Both those tight ends can catch the football, and I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Herbert targets the middle of that defense.
yeah. And again, we're going to have Scott Kaplan on in segment number 2 to talk some in depth about the Chargers. But Mo, I look at where this team is at. This game coming up on Monday night is going to be a big test. And I know Raider fans, it's a division rival, a hated division rival. And so Raider fans are going to be ready. We saw too, the ticket brokers have released their, hey, how are the tickets being sold? And is it going to be a big visiting crowd? The answer is no. So far, 86%, this is according to TickPicks, 86% of the tickets purchased, again, on the secondary market are Raiders fans. So they're predicting a massive Raider crowd at home. 14% visiting crowd, not bad. Even, I mean, for Allegiant Stadium, especially as it's been over the last few years with the Raiders losing. So you can expect Raider Nation to show out. I think that's only going to get better for them as well. You also see the price of the ticket going up as usual because this is a big game. Look, the Chiefs lost to the Chargers. The Chargers coming in off a huge opening weekend win. The Raiders coming in off a huge opening win as well out in New England. So, Mo, these two freight trains are going at each other in an early contest to determine who's got the leg up in the AFC West.
Yeah, big crucial game. Not a must-win game for either
No.
team, but a crucial game nonetheless. In the spotlight of the Monday Night Football showcase, the doubleheader, the second game. But it's gonna hold a lot for both teams as far as if the Raiders want to compete down the stretch. If they Raiders can go up 2-0 here, then we're talking about maybe they could linger on in the playoff picture late in the season. If the Chargers go up 2-0 here, having beaten the Chiefs already and the Raiders 2 divisional wins back to back, that would be a huge feather in their cap. So even though it's early in the season, I don't expect either team to take their foot off the gas pedal, even though it's only September, because this one's a huge one.
And look, Mo, it's true. The Chargers seemingly every single year are perhaps the most overrated team in the NFL. We hear all the time about, especially since they moved to Los Angeles, oh, this is the year, this is the year. And they never fulfill that. But I will tell you, we talked about this early on in the offseason and going into the preseason. The Chargers are right now, I believe, the favorites to unseat the Chiefs as AFC West champions, more so than the Broncos, I believe, because I think they're a better, more complete team. So that's why this game is huge. And like you said, it's not a must win. You definitely would like, if you're going to split with your division rivals, you would definitely like to win that game at home, right? It just favors you. You're going to have a great 7 p.m. Pacific time crowd inside Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on Monday Night Football. Nobody likes Monday Night Football and crowds like that and a show like Raider Nation. So it's going to be fun and raucous, and we will continue to do that. By the way, we normally have a show on Tuesdays, as you guys know. With the game on Monday night, Mo and I are going to go live Monday and do a pregame instead. Because the game is so late, we won't have a chance to get a show out to you to Tuesday morning. So Mo and I are going to do 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So you can spend lunch if you're on the West Coast, like a lot of Raider fans are. They're everywhere, but for our West Coast Raider fans, you can spend lunch with us on Monday, our pregame show. Everybody does their pregame, right before the game. And I know our listeners, our viewers watch other Raider content providers as well, and that's great. So we're going to go early. We're going to go at lunchtime Pacific time, 3 p.m., i.e. coffee break or tea time if you're into that. 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So that'll be our show on Monday. Mo, I wanted to play this for you. I don't know. I've kind of stopped paying attention to Shannon Sharpe a little bit, but he had Michael Irvin on his podcast talking about the Raiders and how did he almost become a Raider. I want to play this clip and get your comments about it, because we talk about Al Davis, the legacy of the Raiders, and the Raiders haven't been a good on the field winning franchise in a long time. But the shadow and legacy of Al Davis endures. So I'm going to play this clip and come back and talk about it. Here's Shannon Sharpe talking to Michael Irvin.
Mike, you almost got traded to the Raiders.
Yeah, you know, they play. I would have loved to go to the Raiders. If I was going to get traded, Raiders would have been. Al, you remember, Al Davis, you know, I used to walk around when you're working out and always come by. I don't know why that wasn't tampering. Why they ain't never put Al with tampering? Al come right on by and watch you work out. Boy, you work out like a Raider.
So he would always.
Boy,
So you want to be a Raider?
You want to be a Raider? Right? I'm like, boy.
That's his favorite
The
word.
first time, though, listen, though.
If
y'all
you
say
were a
what
good
y'all
player
want,
and Al
boy.
Davis got close to you, he gonna ask
come
you.
walking by. He always walk by. He wanted and for us, that was like Michael Corleone invite you into the family.
Yes.
Boy, I was
Because
like,
he was
boy,
one of
you
the really
that
owners
was
that
Michael
you actually
Corleone.
knew.
What?
Because you saw him all the time.
That means you know he knows, and he's saying you one of them dogs. Because we only want dogs over here. So, he played that great, man. I loved Al, man. I loved Al. But Jerry even said, he said when they were talking about trading me and everything, Al Davis was the one told him, because he was new. Jerry was new. He said, you don't trade people like that. You should trust me. You don't trade people like that. So, Al, I had a great respect and love for Al Davis, man. I really did.
There you go. There's Michael Irvin with a little story. I love it. If you watch the video, if you're listening to us, you obviously can't see it, but Irvin walking around in the manner of Al Davis in that gait, and then mentioning Michael Corleone, of course, the lead figure in the movie The Godfather. Man, that was some good stuff.
Imagine if Michael Irvin had become a Raider.
Woo! At that time?
Man. That would have been insane. That would have been one of the biggest trades in history. Another one of the biggest trades in history involving the Raiders, right? But you can hear Al Davis in Michael Irvin's impression, and you could just hear Al Davis saying that to a good player. He's not a good player, a great player. He's walking by working out. So that was a pretty good story that Michael Irvin told. It seems like Michael Irvin and both Shannon Sharpe are in good shape, by the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. By the way, too, what he said there too, Jerry was a new owner, Jerry Jones, and Al Davis giving him advice, which is weird because Al Davis, anytime he can get he was all about winning. And if he can get a leg up, if he could get Michael Irvin, he would have done anything to get him. But he told Jerry Jones, you don't trade players like that, right? So it makes sense to share that story now. But Michael Irvin, it just goes to show you. And you know what? Despite, as I focused on the fact that the Raiders on the field haven't won in a very long time, that respect, that factor is still there, and you're seeing it. And we'll talk a little bit about it in the last segment, how the Raiders, when they do get attention, when they are doing well, how it's better for football, and how even the national pundits who sometimes like to hate on the Raiders quickly turn the other cheek and adopt them as a story and as a team, because the mystique that he built, even through the last 25 years and all the trouble and the pain, it's still there. It tells you how valuable that brand is, as we've seen as it's grown since they've gone to Las Vegas as well. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by my good friend Scott Kaplan from ESPN in Los Angeles. He's going to give us a lowdown on the Chargers. You're with Moe and Scott. This is Silver and Black Today. Don't go anywhere. All right, friends, it's time for us to give you some picks, some daily fantasy picks for Sunday from our good friends at Sleeper Picks. Yes, Sleeper Picks will give you a $100 deposit match if you use the special code GENTY, as in Ashton Genty. Use the code GENTY, and guess what? You'll get a $100 match on your first $100 deposit to play what is the most killer app and the most fun I'm having all season so far. Only a week in, but I'm just enjoying the heck out of it on Sleeper Picks with Daily Fantasy. You can pick players. You can pick all kinds of cool stuff. And that's what we're going to do now. Mo and I, we're going to pick real quickly our game here. And Mo, we're focusing in on the Jacksonville-Cincinnati game because we both agree this is going to be fun offensively. And so you got Jamar Chase, who did not have a great week 1, only 3 catches and didn't really break out against the Browns. Joe Burrow, the Bengals only had 18 yards in the second half of offense against Cleveland. Good defense. But we're going to pick some of these games. And Mo, I'm going to let you pick the 2. I'll pick the 3rd player here. So if you'll pick one from Cincinnati, one from Jacksonville, and I will do the same.
So I'll start out with Joe Burrow bouncing back. He better bounce back. He's on one of my fantasy teams. I think what is that, 275.5?
Yes, 275.5.
What is there a 250 alt line there?
There is a 250, which is the most popular selection right now on Sleeper Picks. Yes. You want to do the 250?
Yes, 250.
Okay.
Go 250 for Joe Burrow.
250 for Joe Burrow. So passing yards over 250. All right.
And I'll go, since we are with a sleeper.
Yes.
We are with the sleeper app. We'll go with a sleeper pick in Brenton Strange.
Oh, that was my guy. There you go.
Over 31.5. Brenton Strange is a sleeper coming into this season. He's now tight end 1 with the Jacksonville Jaguars out of Evan Ingram's in Denver. He's got a hurt calf now in Denver, by the way. But Brenton Strange, if he's available in your fantasy league, you need to pick him up. He led the Jaguars in receiving yards last week. I don't think he'll lead the Jaguars in receiving yards this week because I think Brian Thomas Jr. has a better game, but I think he gets over 31.5.
Nice. Okay, so Mo.
Bo and Mo.
I got all this stuff. Joe Burrow over 275.5, over 250. And then he's got Brenton Strange over 31.5 yards. And I'm sorry, man. Jamar Chase is just too damn good to be held in check 2 straight weeks to start the season. And on this one, it's 84.5 yards. And everybody's going 70 plus, but I'm going all in, man. I'm going 84.5. I think he's going to have a 100+ yard day because you're right. And that'd be good for you with your Burrow pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's fine. So we're looking at those 3 picks at 2.99 times our our selection here. And at $10, I'm going to go, let's go $20. $20, Mo and I with Strange, Chase, and Burrow. There's your picks. Oops. Wait, did I not pick I got to go back. That's wrong. Okay, so let me go back and get his Burrow pick because I did not make that one. All right, there we go. Now we got it. 3.59 times your money for this daily fantasy. So look, Mo and I get 71.80 if our picks come in. So Strange over 31.5, Chase 84.5 over, and Burrow 250 over on Sleeper Picks. Again, go to Sleeper Picks, download the app. We do our fantasy league there as well. Sleeper is just a killer company based in Las Vegas, by the way. Also, make sure you get that $100 match deposit using the code GENTY. That's GENTY. Terms and conditions apply. Check out sleeper.com for more information. Sleeper Picks, official sponsor here of Silver and Black today. All right, joining us now, one of my favorite people in the entire sports world. That is Scott Kaplan, ESPN Los Angeles. Going back to the San Diego days, covered the Chargers, obviously. Mm-hmm. So when we want to talk about Charger football, we talk to somebody who's going to give it to us unfiltered. Scott, thanks for being with us, man. I appreciate you.
Good to be with you too, Scott. By the way, unfiltered is one way of looking at it, or perhaps it's just based on the hatred that I have. I am a hater. I acknowledge that in advance. I am a Charger hater. I was a Charger lover. I was the guy who drove the bandwagon to try and keep the Chargers in San Diego. And the day they left, I think you know the story, but the Chargers were playing the Raiders in like Christmas Eve time in 2016. And Dean Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, came up to me before the game. I was working for CBS, and he said, "Hey, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate everything you did." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you did everything you could to try and help us, win this election and stay." And I said, "Well, you're talking about this in the past tense, like as if you've already made up your mind to go." And he said, "Yeah, I don't think we really have much choice." In which case, after the kickoff of that game between the Chargers and the Raiders, they came down to me, and I'm not a newsbreaker, but I was like, "Hey, right. Dean Spanos just told me they're moving."
Yeah.
And so at that moment, Scott, that was kind of where my relationship with the Chargers ended.
Yeah, and it's interesting for me, having covered the Raiders for 8 years and very open from the very beginning that I grew up a Charger. I mean, I grew up in Carlsbad, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of fans at first were not happy that I was covering the Raiders. But the Chargers, and the fact that you've covered the team the way you have, I think actually endears you to Raider fans, because they look at the organization, yes, under a rivalry lens, but at the same time also realizing what the Spanoses did. So I know they're not sending you any Hanukkah cards or anything like that. But
No, sir.
But the Chargers too, one of the things Raider fans always talk about with the Chargers, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, Scotty, has been this idea that they are some Super Bowl contending team. Well, we know what's happened with that. We know all the Tom Telesco era, all that stuff, and the Raider fans had last year with Tom Telesco to understand sort of what he was all about. But the Chargers this year come in, of course, Jim Harbaugh there. They get that monumental 27-21 victory over the Chiefs in Brazil. Justin Herbert, who, listen, guy's got a lot of talent, but a lot of people think he's overrated. When you look at this team and under your lens too, and what you've seen so far from them, covering them in LA, is this a different Charger team? Do you think this team has a little more what it takes to actually be a contender in the AFC West?
I sadly have to answer that question by saying yes. I'll say this. You know, the issue that the Chargers had for the longest time was they refused to hire a real head coach. And in my time covering the Chargers, dating back to, 2001, when LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees were the first and second round draft choices, and watching a team go from being really a 1-15 franchise to being a 14-2 franchise, but still nothing to show for it. What the difference is now is, when I go back to the beginning, Mike Riley was their head coach. Everybody loved Mike Riley. He was the sweetest guy on the planet, but he was great at Oregon State and he wasn't good in the NFL. And then they hired Marty Schottenheimer, and Marty Schottenheimer was a real coach. And Marty would always say, the numbers don't lie. He knew how great he was in the regular season, and he knew how bad he was in the postseason. But when you were 14-2, and Marty Schottenheimer said to management back then, I want to hire my brother as a special teams coordinator because he is a legitimate NFL special teams coordinator. They said, no, we don't believe in nepotism. This is from an organization whose father owned the team, handed it off to the son, and now everybody, all the sons, all the nieces and nephews, they all work for the team. So that was ironic. They fired Marty Schottenheimer. And after that, I know this is long-winded, but after that, you had Mike McCoy, who was the hot guy. Well, first of all, you had Norv Turner. Raider fans will remember. So you had Norv Turner, great guy. Norv's the best, man, but not a head coach. Then Mike McCoy, who was the hot guy with the Denver Broncos because he had Peyton Manning. Then they went into Anthony Lynn, who was a guy who was a running backs coach and elevated to head coach because other guys in front of him got fired in the same year. Then they went to Brandon Staley. And Brandon Staley was like a 30-year-old kid. They wanted to try and catch that Sean McVay magic because Brandon Staley had 1 year there. So they've always gone for guys who are cheap and controllable at head coach so that the front office could tell them what to do. And these guys are like, hey, I just want to be a head coach and make $3 million or $4 million a year. I don't care that I'm the lowest paid head coach. But when the Raiders smashed the Chargers a couple seasons ago in Vegas and put up 60 some odd points on them, that day, Tom Telesco wasn't getting back on that plane, and neither was Brandon Staley. And that changed everything. The Raiders are the reason that the Chargers have Jim Harbaugh as their head coach right
now. And listen, me and my co-host Moe were on the bandwagon for the Raiders to try to lure Jim Harbaugh there. If you remember, during that hiring cycle, that was one guy that we felt would be a good choice. Now, it didn't work out that way, and he ends up going to a division rival. And you look at Jim Harbaugh, what he's done, offensive coordinator Greg Roman. Again, I always tell our listeners here, Scotty, that when you hire a head coach, this is the problem with Antonio Pierce last year. When you hire a head coach, you're not just hiring the head coach, you're hiring his network, the people he can bring with him. Mm-hmm. Now, you saw what they did. Right. Some are calling it a masterclass in Brazil. They were a more complete offensive unit. They handled the Chiefs blitz really well. Do you think these early indicators, and you just mentioned you think that's for real this time, but the strong coaching, offensive cohesion, this change that you've seen with this organization, despite the fact that the Spanos Goofs are still in charge, do you think that is this team going to break hearts again of the Charger fans, or do you think this is actually something that they're going to build on and be competitive?
No, I think they'll break the hearts again. And again, that could be coming from a very salty place. Okay.
Yeah.
But look, I know this is going to sound weird, and there's really no data to support what I'm about to say, other than to say that certain franchises, for whatever reason, always seem to be cursed. They always seem to be really, really good, and then they find a way to break your heart. The Chargers are a team that every year, and I'm not talking about like in the last, 25 or 50, I'm just in the last, call it, few years, people always want to pick the Chargers. They're very sexy. Now that you've got Harbaugh and Justin Herbert is a record-setting quarterback in the early part of his career, and they've built an excellent offensive line. They went out and drafted Joe Alt, the kid out of Notre Dame, and now they had to move him from right tackle to left tackle because Rashawn Slater got hurt after he got paid. The thing is that they've built a very good team. They have a really good head coach who commands a room and makes players believe in him. They've got a young superstar quarterback. They've got good tight ends, good skill guys, not great, not Hall of Famers. Keenan Allen's a little bit older now, but still productive. The point is this, they've got a complete team, but they've had complete teams. When there was Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates and Vincent Jackson, and on the other side, there was Sean Merriman and Sean Phillips and Jamal Williams, and the list goes on and on of teams and players that the Chargers have had, and they've got the best roster in football. That's what people would say. And they would always find a way to screw things up. And when I think about the last few years, you got a 27-0 lead in Jacksonville in the postseason, and you lose it in the second half. You last year against Houston, you find a way to lose that game in the postseason. So Justin Herbert is excellent. There's no doubt about it. But nobody talks about Justin Herbert the way they talk about Lamar Jackson or the way they talk about Josh Allen, where they go, these are the best guys, but they're not winning Super Bowls yet. And that's because they're playing in the Mahomes era. Things may change this year. I mean, Kansas City after week 1, was that a byproduct of the Chargers are awesome and the Chiefs are terrible? Or is that more of a byproduct of, the Chargers did look good. They did handle their blitz. There wasn't as much pass rush. The secondary looked weak. Or, is that a byproduct of, hey, wait a second. It's a one-score game, and it's 3rd and 14, and you think you're about to get the ball back. And once you give the ball back to Mahomes with just a couple minutes left, he's going to take your heart. And it turns out that it was Herbert who made the play.
And
so it wasn't like some massive blowout.
No, it wasn't a blowout. But the thing, and that's the thing, you talk about Justin Herbert, because here's a guy, and listen, Scott, it's a quarterback league. We understand how the national media, how the league promotes guys like Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert's a talented young quarterback, no question about it. But is he that guy? Does he have that killer instinct to take the team over the top? You've seen it. Listen, the Bengals struggle. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. You talk about Lamar Jackson, who can't win in the playoffs despite being MVP multiple times. Is Justin Herbert, is he a guy now with the right coaching staff there who can take this Chargers offense to a level where they're going to win those close games in crunch time in the playoffs?
Maybe. And maybe not. Maybe he is. Thus far, what we've seen out of Justin Herbert is he is a lot like what Phillip Rivers was. He can put up really big numbers, Hall of Fame caliber numbers, but what does he have to show for it? Listen, guys who've won Super Bowls like Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson, Raider fans, Brad Johnson, guys who are not superstars, Joe Flacco, still going, still playing. These guys were not superstars. They're not likely ever going to be anywhere near Canton, Ohio, but they found ways to win. And it wasn't just because of them. It was because they were part of a bigger team. It was bigger than just one person. Justin Herbert's an excellent quarterback. Man, he's a really great athlete. He's got a big arm. He can run. He's a really good player, but he's 0 for 2 in the playoffs. And he had a 27-0 lead on the road at Jacksonville, not at Pittsburgh, not at Kansas City, not in Buffalo. He had a 27-0 lead in Jacksonville, and it got blown up. Now, again, somebody might say, well, that wasn't a Harbaugh team. Fair enough. So now you add the Harbaugh factor, and you say, okay, well, Harbaugh's won a national championship at Michigan. He led the 49ers to a Super Bowl. So I say maybe because at this point, we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me ask you this. Again, we're talking to Scott Kaplan from ESPN in Los Angeles here on 101.5 KDON and 840 KXNT in Las Vegas, Silver and Black today. Scott, the Chargers and sort of that what's the word I'm looking for? That foundation in Los Angeles, is it gaining any steam? Because Raider fans, they love to make fun of the Chargers, and usually use terms like all 12 Charger fans in Los Angeles, because the Rams obviously have done so well since SoFi opened up and what they've been able to do. But when you look at the Charger fan base in Los Angeles, is it gaining any steam?
I would say, if I'm being really honest about it, I'd say a little. Okay, so look, when the Chargers were in San Diego, they were the team. And yes, there were the San Diego Padres, but the Padres then were, Trevor Hoffman and they're coming out of the Tony Gwynn era. And, even though they were winning, they weren't really good. They were making it to the playoffs just barely 500. But the Chargers were overwhelmingly the team of San Diego. When you go to LA, not only are the Rams the overwhelming NFL team of LA because they built the stadium, they hosted the Super Bowl, they won the Super Bowl in that stadium, they're entrenched in the community. They not only built out SoFi Stadium, around SoFi Stadium, and for people that can't get to Inglewood, where they actually host their practices and their facilities are up in the valley in an area called Woodland Hills, and they're building a monster complex there. The only thing it won't have is a stadium. Otherwise, it'll look like an NFL, community, and it'll feel like an NFL vibe. So no different than if you were at New England and you were right next door to the stadium, or next door to Green Bay, Titletown, and what goes on there. So they're building on. So the Rams came to LA to be part of LA. The Chargers moved to LA and were not welcome in LA. They weren't wanted in LA, and it's taking them a lot longer to build a fan base. So what do they have? They have cool uniforms. They have a hotshot young quarterback who's a young, good-looking kid who's dating some singer now, and they've got really who was the hottest coach in the coaching cycle when they got him. So they are making. I will admit, as much as it pains me to say it, they're making some impact, but the Rams have made giant impact.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Scott, listen, man, I appreciate it. This is a big game on Monday night. Obviously, the Raiders and the Chargers, not only is it a divisional game, but with the AFC shaking out the way it is, to go 2-0 for one of these teams is going to be a big deal. And as you know, the Raiders now, Pete Carroll, the coaching in this division, 686 combined wins with all four of these guys. It's a big deal. How do you see this one going? It is in Vegas. Brock Bowers looks like he's going to play. How do you see it coming out in Vegas, I should say, on Monday night?
I would say this. If the Raiders are going to win one of these two games, I mean, the likelihood of being swept in the division, it usually just doesn't happen. I mean, the Raiders find a way to beat the Chiefs, to beat the Chargers. The Broncos are now like serious players in the division with their head coach and their quarterback. I would say this. I'm a huge Pete Carroll fan. I have been for 20 years. I believe in Pete Carroll. I don't care what number of years he has connected to his age. He's 25 years younger. 73 is the new 43. I love Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll comes into a locker room, and everybody in there knows he was a Super Bowl champion in Seattle. He was a national champion at USC. He created Heisman Trophy winners. He was one of the most exciting college football programs ever. And even though the guys on the Raiders are younger and they didn't really see Reggie Bush, they were little kids, Pete Carroll is the kind of guy that can change an entire organization. I think he already has, but I would say that the Chargers are probably 2 to 3 years ahead of the Raiders because the Chargers roster was built before Harbaugh got there. He stabilized things. I think Pete is stabilizing things, but then he's going to have to improve his roster. But you're home. It's your home opener. It's Monday night. You have a legitimate quarterback. You got to commit to the run, and you got to get Ashton Genty going because you kind of want to keep Justin Herbert off the field. I believe the Raiders can win this game. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be a close one as usual, outside of that 60-point game, of course, which was the end of the Brandon Staley era. But nonetheless, it'd be interesting. Scott Kaplan from ESPN in Los Angeles here on Silver and Black. Today, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll close out the show. Take care. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the home stretch here, segment number 3 on Silver and Black. Today, I got to start over. I didn't get my timer going. Flustered me. In 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Segment number 3 here on Silver and Black. Today, also, just a reminder, it's an Odyssey Sports original podcast, heard on the radio in Las Vegas, 101.5 KDON and 840 KXNT. Hello to everybody in Las Vegas, including my eldest son, who's still a Nevada resident. So shout out to him and Jenna, his significant other. Proud of those guys. Got a dad boast occasionally now and then. But thank you guys all for being back with us. In this segment, we will get to some fantasy football stuff. We'll tie up some loose ends as well. Also want to thank again the interview there with Scott Kaplan, give us some insight into the Chargers. And we talked a little bit about it, Mo, but Scott has a very interesting relationship. He's been so critical of the Chargers going back to the days of San Diego and moving that, you know, the Charger fans, all four of them, really dislike him because he holds the franchise accountable. But it really seems like that franchise, outside of the renting the stadium and all that jazz that Raider fans really like to criticize them for, it seems like on the field with Jim Harbaugh in control now and a better coaching staff, they kind of got things pointed in a more consistent direction.
It's the Jim Harbaugh effect, and I said it last year when they hired him, right? Well, the year before when they hired him. This is why they were going to win double-digit games in 2024. A lot of people didn't believe it because the Chargers are used to, as you said, being a disappointing, underachieving, injury-riddled football team. Now, they're still injury-riddled. Rashawn Slater, unfortunately,
Yes.
tore his patella tendon before the season even started. Could well soon Rashawn Slater. Don't want to see anybody get hurt, regardless rival or not. But Jim Harbaugh has changed the vibe there, and I don't think they're going to be an underachieving team for as long as he's the head coach. Doesn't mean they're going to win a Super Bowl or win 15 games. I do think they're going to unseat the Chiefs this year. But I also think that the Chargers and the Raiders, regardless of what, even with Jim Harbaugh there, let's remember Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll have a rivalry themselves. This is going to be a closer game than maybe a lot of people expect. We talked about Geno Smith playing well indoors in a dome. Shout out to Pastor Mike behind bars who put up the stat. So this is Geno's first opportunity to show fans what he looks like indoors. And I think fans are in for a big treat there. And we're going to possibly have a shootout on Monday night, Scott.
Yes, and I think even though the Raiders are in the process of building a championship roster, and as we said, we picked 7-8 wins, great progress in 2025, but maybe not playoff team. That could be wrong. The Raiders, if they continue to play, if they win this big game on Monday night and do so looking as good as they did against the Patriots, then things get interesting. But we all knew with 686 coaching wins combined in this division with the four head coaches in the NFL, that this division is, for a lot of years, there's been a couple of years ago, well, the AFC West is going to be the best division in football. I think this time it's much more what it's been billed to be. It's going to be ultra competitive. Injuries can change the whole landscape of a season for any of these teams. So that's one thing to watch, and it's still early. But between the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos, who we're still kind of figuring out who they are, and the Raiders, it's going to be fun to watch this unfold all season long. But I think that Monday night's game is big. And again, reminder, we're going to be back on Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live on YouTube and the rest of the video channels with the audio available right after. So we'll publish it the same day. So if you miss us at 3 o'clock, you can still catch us before the game later at 7 Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. So look for the show there as well. Mo, I know with the late game, let everybody know your Bleacher Report lives that you usually do. Are you doing anything special for the game? Are you still doing post game?
So I'm still doing post game. I usually call it Raiders After Dark for East Coasters when they're on late. I did this during the preseason when they had those late 10 p.m. Eastern time games. Same deal here with the Chargers. As I said, the Raiders are the second game in a doubleheader Monday night. I will be live right after the game. I will also be publishing a video on Bleacher Report, a shorter video, not a live video, but a pre-recorded video for Tuesday. Also a Raiders Daily going over what happened in the game. And then back here with you again, Scott, for Thursday.
Yes. So, yes. Well, Monday, Thursday next week with the segment. We'll also, I might try to sneak in a calls show because we're not doing calls today, but we'll get back to that. I didn't want to do calls today. You guys, we got a bunch of calls and they're great. Don't get me wrong. But with the game Monday night, I really wanted to keep it for next week. I wanted reaction to the game. And we might even be able to take some calls live on Monday. So if you watch us Monday live, we might just bring you in. I can even bring you in on video. We haven't tried that before, Mo, but I keep wanting to try it. So to the guys out there who call in all the time, watch us Monday, get ready in the chat, send me your email. I might bring you on the air with us live.
3 p.m. Eastern time, noon Pacific.
Yes, 3 p.m. Eastern time, noon Pacific. You got it. I appreciate that, Mo. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about fantasy football. As you guys know, we do a fantasy football league with our listeners. And with week 1 in the book, we're going to bring some of those listeners on too as we move forward. But this first week, I wanted to get into a little bit. I'm going to share my screen here so people can, as they're watching us on the video, I'm trying to look for the best view here. There we go. I will show you guys what we are up to here in the league. But Mo, let's go through this real quickly because we have 3 divisions in our league, the Silver and Black Today Listener League. We have the Bo Jackson division. We have the Rod Woodson division, which Mo is in, of course. And then we have the Ken Stabler division, which Kelly is in, right? So we have, of course, his name. You can see the team names here if you're watching us.
Can we
But
call that the
nonetheless,
Charles Woodson division?
What's that? Charles
Can we
Woodson,
call
yes.
that the Charles Woodson division?
I called it the Rod, I think. See,
Yeah, you
there
did.
you go. Charles. There we go. We have to have 1 misspeak per show. It's in our contracts. Okay. So, and Mo is ahead of that division. But if you look at the standings, we have our good friend, the comedian down in Austin, AJ DeMello, actually beat me in week 1. He's at 1-0. Our Cajun Raider, our good guy down in New Orleans, is 1-0. I'm 0-1. We have Rossi, the Aussie, 0-1 as well in my division. Mo's 1-0. James, Slow Jam James Owens, always good in fantasy, both 1-0. We have Pastor Mike and our good friend, former producer David Stepanian, they're both 0-1. Then we have the other division. Look at Just Win Wendy, 1-0, right?
Just Win Wendy is very good. Has been very good at fantasy football. She was good last year too.
Yes. So we have that. But what I wanted to do was, I had one of the worst weeks, Mo. The worst week I've ever had in fantasy football. Right? I mean, it was so bad, and I'm going to show you. Let's go back, if I can go back. Well, let me go back to last week's scores. Yeah. No, it won't let me go back to last week's matchups. But I lost. I got my butt kicked by AJ DeMello. So, AJ, there you go. You can make a joke out of it. But I love in Sleeper, again, we have Sleeper Picks as a sponsor. And Sleeper Picks, by the way, you get $100 match on your deposit up to $100. Use the code GENTY. But as a fantasy football platform, it's awesome as well. And they give you this weekly report, Mo. Mm-hmm. And you look at who got the best manager, right? And who's the worst manager? Me. 82 points. And it says LV Gully set the worst lineup and only scored 58% of their perfect possible lineup. Biggest blowout was Mo over David Stepanian. That was a 46-point spread. Highest scorer was Mo. Mo, do you know who this guy is? I don't know who he is. How does he pick his fantasy football? Lowest scorer was Rossi. Wendy was the overachiever. She went over 11% over her projections. Rossi went below 44% below. Then I like this. They have players of the week. So your fantasy players, Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, no surprise. Zay Flowers, Brock Bowers with Cajun Raider down there. Cam Little. My bench warmer of the week, both my teams, Mo. Justin Fields and Javonte Williams.
On the bench.
That's 50 points, almost 50 points. Just in 2 players that I missed. That's why I was telling you I had the worst week ever.
So right? in case you're following, still, right? This is why you should listen to my Sleeper Picks every week. I don't just cover Raiders football. I actually do fantasy football for Bleacher Report.
Yes, you do.
I release a sleepers column, So if that's your thing, I know it's not everyone else's thing. Most of you here, all of you here for Raiders, you should be here for Raiders, right? But if you're also a fantasy football player, please check that out. The Bleacher Report app, you can pull it up there. You type it in. You can look at my feed on Twitter, my timeline on Twitter, MOEMOTON. I release a Slippers column every Thursday morning for fantasy football managers out there.
Yes. Look at that. Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. Okay. So what I want to do though is highlight too this week. So Mo, I'm going up against Steven, my guy down in Louisiana, Cajun Raider. And then if we look at the league, we have Just Win Wendy against JC Pokedad. Then we have Kelly against Raider Rel, one of our new players. And James versus Mo, and now you might not have lineup changes in yet, Mo, but James, 54% win projection against Mo. That's for supremacy in the Woodson division, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that one goes. Then we have Pastor Mike behind bars, also known as the Idaho Infidels, love that name, against David Stepanian. And then AJ DeMello is coming off his big win against this guy, against Rossi. So we got some good games this week. And it's early season's always tough because like last week, if you look, Mo, since you cover fantasy football for Bleacher Report, like it was weird weeks. A lot of players who went high in the draft, fantasy-wise, did not perform that well.
This is why in fantasy football, like in real football, you got to have some depth and you got to know when to play certain players, right?
Yes.
This is why you had 50 points on the bench. One thing I also wanted to point out, and since this is a Raiders show, some cool names in that league. 48 Laws of Bowers. Austin Bowers, our guy Rossi. Austin Bowers, that one made me chuckle, and he has like the team logo emblem. But good sports in that league, and I enjoy doing it every year with you, Scott.
Yes, and my team Punch Your Mama in the Mouth. If you're a Smoking the Bandit fan, you get that. Mo still has not watched the movie. I'm trying to get him to adopt some 70s culture here.
Yeah, it probably won't happen until during the season.
No, I was gonna say
probably not.
After February 28th, maybe. But anyway, so that's a little bit of update. We're going to get some of the folks who play with us to come on, talk about what we're going to do. We won't just talk about fantasy football. We'll talk about fantasy football with the players, but we also want to get backgrounds on the players in our listener league. How did they become Raider fans? Their best Raider moments, that kind of stuff. We'll get them on in coming weeks as well. We got 17 weeks to do that, so we're going to have fun as well. But coming up Monday night, the Raiders and the Chargers. We will be back Monday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Spend lunch with us on Monday. Just go to our YouTube channel, Rumble channel, X, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you want to watch us, you can watch us there. But Mo and I will be back with that pre-game show. Just about the time you're firing up the grill out in Vegas, getting ready for your 7-hour tailgate, right? Well, you can join it with us as well. Don't forget to catch Mo as well after the game Monday, so you get us before the game and after the game. And yes, Mo does not sleep on Mondays. So we will get that all to you as well. And a special thank you again to Scott Kaplan for joining us on this broadcast with that interview on the Chargers. Mo, I will see you Monday, my friend, and take care. Have a good weekend. I know it's working just like I am, but you got to love football's back, brother.
Football's back, and the Raiders are back on Monday Night Football in the bright lights. That's going to be a fun one.
It is. All right, everybody. For our producer on the radio in Las Vegas, Mr. Mark Bonilla, a tip of the cap, my man out in Sin City. Love the guy. Does such great work for us during the season. Also, our producer at Odyssey, Mr. Mike Robier, who you'll see a little more coming up. We got some plans for him as well. And from Momoton, I'm Scott Branson. This has been Silver and Black Today, an Odyssey Sports Original Podcast. Don't forget, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your audio. And thank you to our audience in Las Vegas on KDON and KXNT. We will see you next time.